this is the row generator. Okay, first understand the row generator, why we are using row generator into the data stage job. Like I want to create that row generator. Row generator, it will only accept one output link. It cannot support any more output links. It can have only one output link. And why we are using this into the our data stage jobs? Whenever we need the dummy rows, okay, we don't have data and we have to create those columns or those record into the table. Then we are creating the like employee ID, salary. Okay, if you want to create some records, let's create 10 records. Like if you want to create the employee ID, so you can define those employee ID here. What is the initial value? Then you want to increment by 1 or 2, whatever the value you want to increment. First day I was explained this one, correct? In this way you can create the dummy record, so that this will create the dummy record. Why we are using this dummy row generator? Because we can create the dummy rows using that directly file as well. But for creating the dummy rows manually, it will take so much time. Let's see, we have to create 10,000 rows. Just assume that how much time it will take. We have to write these all records manually, correct? So that's why we are using this particular dummy row generator to generate the rows. And here, if you want to generate the 10,000 rows, just increase the number here, whatever the number of record you want to generate. If you want to do the performance testing, you can create the 100 millions of record here. Means you just now increase the number of record here, whatever the number of record you want, if you want to do the performance testing of your data stage job. So that's why we are using the row generator into our real-time environment as well for testing the data stage job. Okay, so you can see that now data will be created here. So let's come to that point. Okay, let's assume this. Okay, so I'll use the database stage in every job. Okay, so you guys will feel better then. Let's use that way only. Control C. Okay. Okay. Now I'm directly jumping into our processing stages. Okay. Let's assume I'm getting the 3 columns: employee ID, salary, address, first name, last name, address is there. Okay, and these are the varchar column. You guys are comfortable when we have to choose the what type of data type we have to choose. This is also most important into the data stage. Address. Okay, so let's address is 20 character. Okay, F name is 10 character, last name is to the 10 character. Okay, so this is the data we are getting from this particular file. Okay, and second thing, whenever you guys are creating the data stage job, naming convention is the most important part. You have to create, you have to use the proper, you have to follow the proper naming convention in data stage job. Because what will happen is this will look great if you are using the proper naming conventions, and someone can see the job as well in the very proper manner. So you have to use the proper naming convention of the job. Row generator, you have to use RG, okay, and whatever the employee data. So you have to use the proper naming convention of the whatever the stages you are using. Then I'm just taking out of this. Okay, and how many columns we are getting here? 5 columns. And out of these 5 columns, I have to write only 2 columns into the database, that is the employee ID and salary, and remaining columns I have to ignore. But I am getting these columns from the my source database. Just assume this is my source database. Okay, now how you will do that? and there is some conditions. Okay, I don't want to put the where clause here. I want to use the data stage mechanism to put the filter. So how I can filter the data here? If you want to directly put the two records into the, or the two columns into the database, how we can do that is you have to use copy stage. Copy stage. Copy stage is the processing stage. And why we are using the copy stage? Copy stage is used in the data stage to, it will have the one input. It will accept only one input. It can have the n number of output. Okay. And which scenario we are using the copy stage into the data stage job? Copy stage is used in the data stage job whenever we want to, like we are getting the this row generator or the Oracle connector or any of the ODBC stage. It will always have the one output link, correct? It will not accept more than one output link. But we have to move that, or we have to load that record into the multiple tables, one or two or more multiple, or three or more than three tables. So how we can do that is we'll use the copy stage here to move the data into the different places. Okay. So how we are doing that? Let me come to that point. Now just connect this. Oh. So any of the processing stage, that output and input link could not be the same. Okay. So here we have the same link. So we have to change that. LK CP in. I'll attach this link now. Okay. Now here you'll see that whichever stage, whichever the processing stage, you will see that there is an input link, one is the output link. Okay. Stage, this is the property page. In this property page, whatever that particular stage having the property, you can see those properties here in this property tab. Okay. Like copy stage don't have any more properties. We are just directly forcefully mapping the data into the source to the target. Input. What this input is having? Input is having the columns, whatever it's coming from the our row generator or the your input, if you are getting the data from the your source server or the source tables, then we'll directly get or see those columns here, correct, in the input. What do you mean by the output? Output is, this is the link name. You can see this is the link's name, correct. So whichever column you want to into that target database, you can map those columns into the target. Here we are getting the 5 or 6 or whatever the columns. Here if you are getting the 100 columns, but we want to map the limited columns into the target database, then you can map those columns only. So copy stage is used to rename the columns, but in the my target database, that particular column name is the different one. Instead of EMP ID, it should be something different. Then you can rename that column here as well. Instead of EMP ID, it's employee ID. Then you can rename the column. You can see that in the mapping tab now, that employee ID. In the source, we are getting EMP ID, but into the target, we have the employee ID column, and we have mapped EMP ID to the employee ID column into the target, correct? And the second column into the target, instead of salary, we have only sal. This is the data we are having into the target. So this is the way you can change the data, or the, and if you want to change the data type, you can change the data type as well. In the target, if you have a different data type. So this was your requirement. You are getting 100 columns from your source, but you want to map only 2 columns to the target, correct? So I have mapped only 2 columns to the target. You can see that this DS link 2 is the output link of this copy stage. Okay, so I have mapped that 2 columns into this output stage. Now Press OK. Okay. Whenever you are using as an input link, it means if you are using input link to the any of the database stage, so these are the things you'll get. Okay. What are the things you can do into these stages? You can insert the records into the table. If you're inserting the record into the table, then the table should exist into your database. Then only you can directly insert the record. Okay. So table actions, either you can append the record, either you can create the table. So this is the create table. If this table is already exist, this employee table is already exist in my database. If I'll create this, if I'll use this table action as a create, my job will get failed. Let's execute. I'll execute this job, then you guys will understand. What is this link notification means? Why we are getting this red color? When we are getting the red color in data stage job? Whenever we are getting the fatal errors, if job is got aborted, then it's converting into the red color. Okay, so you can see that right now I have used that create table action. So that name is already used in the existing object, and that table is exist there. That's why my job got failed. So if you want to create any new table, if I'll put the instead of employee 1, and I will use the same create method and insert into those records, it will create the table based on the whatever the metadata we have provided, employee ID and the salary column. It will create the table, okay, and it will insert the record, whatever the record we are getting, those record will get inserted into the table. Is this clear now? Now I have changed the table name. That table name is not existing in my database. System. You can see that only employee table is there. Okay. So right now I am executing this job. I have saved and compiled this job now. So now this is changed to the green. So my job is get completed. So this new table, that employee 1 is created into that database, and those 10 records will be inserted into that table.